Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is going to be the last video you see of me looking like this. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to upload them and intersperse them with other videos I've already got pre-filmed, but we're just rolling with it. Apologies for the way I look. But I thought as we've hit the halfway mark of the year, I thought it would be really good to kind of revisit some of the lists that I made, and I made a couple of videos at the beginning of the year about some of the standalone books I wanted to read, top standalone books of 2022, the top series that I wanted to continue or finish, and then I also made a video, I've made notes by the way, also made a video about, or in that video I also talked about series that were new to me, like I needed to start and wanted to start. So we're going to start with the standalones. I'm going to just amalgamate this into one video here. If you could see the piles of books that I've got in front of me, you would be rather amused right now. So I had a list of standalones of 8 standalone books. And I am pleased to say that I have actually finished half of them. So for being halfway through the year, I think that's really, really good going. And I think achievable and manageable to have 4 left on the list to intersperse in the last 6 months of the year. So the books that I have read that were on that list are A Man Called Ove by Fredrik Backman, The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren, The Siren by Kiera Cass, and After I Do by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Overall, I enjoyed all of these bar The Siren. So it was kind of like a good start as well. I did read The Unhoneymooners, I feel, and The Siren quite early on in the year. These 3 I really, really enjoyed, and this one, A Man Called Ove, has actually made my top book of the first 6 months of the year, the first half of the year. So I think that's blooming amazing. Obviously Taylor Jenkins Reid was amazing. Christina Lauren was my first Christina Lauren book, and I have since read other Christina Lauren and have more Christina Lauren on my TBR now. So really great to start a book from a new to me author and enjoy their work, and like I said, I have now added and read other books by them onto my shelves, and been really grateful of finding something new. And like I say, a little bit disappointed with The Siren by Kiera Cass. I really enjoyed the selection series, and this just felt really flat to me, and it was a really short book and it took me ages. I remember it taking me ages to read because I just was like with it. It's a little bit of a disappointment really, but nonetheless I have ticked off 4 of the books on the list, so that leaves remaining these 4. So A Witch in Time by Constance Sayers, The Girls of Pearl Harbor by Soraya M. Lane, Emma by Jane Austen, and Elantris by Brandon Sanderson. I know Elantris is part of a bigger sort of like series, but in its entirety it's kind of classed as a standalone because it is its own book. But I know that this kind of like starts the kind of world of the Cosmere, so this is kind of a little bit of a cheaty one, but yeah, I think a good mix to have for the rest of the year. I do feel like I maybe was a little bit like pick the easy ones first in the first half, but I am looking forward to getting to these, and I do have these books in the top of my book cart. So these are like ones that I have like right here, easy to pick, so that they're hopefully ones that I pick up and prioritise over the next 6 months. So like I said, to start off with, it's going all right. I think it's going all right so far. Half and half is a good start in my opinion. So the series that I wanted to continue or finish is I've read 3 out of the 7. So one of the books I haven't got here to hand. No, I'm not going to do that first. What I'm going to talk about is the books that I have read. So I have continued and at the moment read the final book in the Outlander series, Go Tell the Bees That I'm Gone by Diana Gabaldon. I feel like I need to do a whole video on this book and my thoughts on the kind of like second half of this series, and yeah, I enjoyed it, but I just feel like the series has changed. But like I said, that's this whole other video. So that's the first one that I've read that was on my list. The Shadow Sister by Lucinda Riley, the third instalment in the Seven Sisters series. This was the next one to read, and I have finished this one. Excuse me, but I haven't picked up any more of the series now going forward. So I do want to prioritise over the next 6 months trying to get to at least another couple, because I mean, that's how many I've read, 3, and that's how many I've got left. So I've got 4 left. So I'd like to think that I can not necessarily finish the series this year. I think that's a little bit unachievable, but at least make progress with it a little bit more. Another 2 would be amazing. And I have found that all of these have been available on audiobook through Libby, through my library. So these have been great to pick up. I do think that if I was to have read them like kind of back to back, one a month, I think they would have got a little bit samey, because the structure and the kind of plots are very similar. Obviously very different plots, but the structurally and the way that the timelines work, and kind of, I think it could get a little bit samey, and I'm glad that I've had a bit of a break since this one. But I am looking forward to the next story, because it's about the kind of like less liked, like less likable, is that even good English, character? Anyway, I'm looking forward to getting back into the series now. I've had a little bit of a break from it. And then the third book that I have finished is Days of Blood and Starlight by Laini Taylor. This is the second book in the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy. And like The Shadow Sister, I have read this instalment, but I haven't read the final instalment yet, which is Dreams of Gods and Monsters. I've got it again here on the top of my book cart, because that is the next one on the hit list for this series. But I did read the next instalment, so it kind of counts. It does count. And yes, I definitely wish to finish the whole trilogy by the end of the year, because I've got 1 book left. Even though it's a bit of a chonker, I do have 1 book left, so I feel like that's achievable. But I've enjoyed the series, and I'm glad that I've picked it up. I really enjoy Laini Taylor's writing. So the ones I haven't read, obviously there's 4. So I have a little bit of catching up to do on this one. I'm not quite as kind of evil pegging as I was with the first the standalones. On the Way to the Wedding, which is the final book in the Bridgerton series, and I have been reading that book for what feels like an age. I read all the others really quickly, and then for some reason I've stalled on reading and finishing because I have been reading it for ages, to the point where I think I might actually go back to the beginning and start it again. On the Way to the Wedding will finish and conclude my Bridgerton series reading, and then that means I can pick up some of Julia Quinn's other work, because I have the Linden Sisters duology on my shelf, on my TBR, and you know, it means I'll be able to pick up other ones of other work by her and not kind of get confused and be like, who was this, what was this? So yeah, I have that one left to read. And then with the physical books that I have, I still have another Brandon Sanderson, Starsight. This is the second book in the Skyward trilogy. I have all 3 books. I believe there is a compendium, a bind up of short stories, which I think you are supposed to read before you go on to the final book, Cytonic, which I don't own, but obviously I need to read this one first. And I'm worried that if I don't read this soon enough, I'm gonna have to like either reread Skyward or read like a kind of more detailed synopsis of it, because it's starting to get a little bit hazy. I wonder how easily I'd pick this back up again, but we'll see. So I have that one left. Also have Assassin's Quest by Robin Hobb, which is massive, and I have made such little progress through, a grand total of 34 pages through this one. I have enjoyed Robin Hobb, but I found it quite slow, and I think it's because I know that everyone really loves the Live Ship Traders trilogy, which is the next trilogy after this in the whole realm of the Elderling. And I think I've kind of been waiting for that, so I've kind of slacked on this. But I'm really intrigued to see how this trilogy ends, and I need to pull my finger out and get it read, because like I say, I enjoyed the first 2 books, but they are a bit slower paced for me, and they're quite high fantasy for me, and it's not what I read an awful lot of. So it's a little bit more of a, not a chore for me, but it's a little bit more hard work for me. It takes a little bit more of my concentration and stuff. So I have got this on Audible though, so hopefully I can pick this up throughout the year and the rest of the year and have it done and have that trilogy done. That would be really good. And then Collision by Victor Dixon, which is the final book in the Phobos trilogy. I don't think there's any more in these now, but this is basically a series where I can't remember how many of them there are. I think there's 12, 6 women, 6 girls, 6 boys. It's kind of like speed dating on the way to Mars. They're going to be colonizing Mars or something like that, and then it's been told in a really interesting way through kind of transcripts and lots of different things. It's really interesting, the mixed media, and I've read the first 2, I believe, on audiobook. So I don't think the last time I checked Collision was available on audiobook, and I was like, I kind of would quite like to listen to it on audio, because I've listened to the other 2 and it kind of like, it was a little bit more of an immersive experience for me. So I wonder if that's on there now. I'm going to check that out when I get my credit on the 14th, because I think this would be a good one to have. Again, sort of, it's quite a chunky book, have that on. If it takes me a month to read it, it takes me a month to read it, but just have that on kind of like in the background. So again, this will be finishing a series as well, finishing a trilogy, which would be really good too. So those are the books that I have read and haven't read. And then I made I don't know if it was a separate video or if it was a like involved in a series video that I did, but there were new to me series that I wanted to start, and I talked about From Blood and Ash, the Scythe books by Neil Shusterman, Nevernight by Jay Kristoff, Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo, Serpent and Dove by Shelby Mahurin, and the Final Empire trilogy. After I'd read Elantris, you know, then go into the Final Empire, Mistborn. Yeah, haven't done that. Haven't started any of these on this list. Yeah, so I'm failing at that, but I have started other series. So I have started the Red Queen series, which I have started on. I have started making my way through the Throne of Glass series. And have I started any other series? Nothing that strikes out at me that I can think of, but I feel like the second half of the year is really going to be about trying to finish the series rather than starting too many others, if that makes sense. I feel like I've got enough series on the go now that I just need to get some finished. And then maybe in 2023, we can think about reading all the series that I wanted to start this year, and because that's not really going to happen, is it? Anyway, so on the whole, I think we've had a good start to the year with the books that I kind of wanted to get to, the standalones and the series that I wanted to kind of like read another book of or complete. I feel like I've done all right, but definitely have more to read. And I feel like, you know, when you look at it as a whole, I feel like I am kind of like, I'm just about halfway there. So I feel like we're in a good place, and I feel like we've got some amazing books to kind of focus on, series and standalones, for the second half of the year. So I can't wait. Any of the books that I talked about that I haven't read yet, if you're interested in reading, then please let me know. If you'd like to do a buddy read, I'd love to organise that. So please let me know down below in the comments, or send me a message on Instagram, Twitter, or what have you. But yeah, if you have any of those, or if you've read any of the books that I have also read, I'd love to hear your thoughts about them as well. So please leave a comment down below. But I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed seeing kind of my progress, how I'm getting on with my reading, and kind of what I wanted to read, because I was actually intrigued when I went through and started writing the lists down and kind of ticking through. I was intrigued to see how well I'd done, and I was pleasantly surprised that I have been as successful as I have been, because as per usual, my reading normally goes off in a tangent, and we kind of forget about all the plans that we had at the beginning of the year. But I feel like we've done all right. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye guys.